What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about Melissa Barrera and Scream 7 yet again. She did an interview at the Independent, which I think is a UK publication, and it's definitely reignited the different sides of Scream 7 and of just her in general on social media. And for what it's worth, my opinion is she says one pretty bad thing in this entire article. The rest of it, I actually agree with her. I think she's on the money, and I also think, I guess I get that she's just very much tired of all of this stuff, and that part I get it, and at the same time it's like, well, you kind of have to expect that when you're in the situation. We'll talk about all of these parts as we go. So, a big part of the article was basically talking about her resurgence after kind of being down in the mud for a little bit, right after she speaks out about Israel, Palestine, all that jazz. She gets kind of blacklisted from Hollywood, but seems like it was kind of like a temporary one, right? Like it was only lasted 11 or so months, and now she's getting even somewhat bigger roles again. And so that was a big part of it. And then she talks about kind of being reminded over and over by Scream fans at conventions. And she does say how much she loves what Scream kind of did for her, right? Like the people she met along the way, her fans that not just watched Scream, but then followed her and watched all her other stuff. And see, all of this stuff is good, right? And I would, from that perspective, I totally get it. And I also get, to an extent, her not really wanting to be reminded of this over and over and over again, right? When fans, she says, kind of in between signings, people will say, oh, I feel really bad for what they did to you and stuff like that. And like those kind of words, those kind of sentences, she's not a big fan of. Now, just really quickly, I want to spend a couple seconds talking about that. Again, I get it, because, if something majorly impacts you, right, and somebody's reminding you over and over, that's a humanity type thing, so I definitely can understand that. I get why that would bug you as an individual. I will say it is something that's just going to happen. Now, she kind of recognizes that, right, because at some point later in the article, she talks about, well, Scream is never going to end, and because Scream is never going to end, these kind of things will always keep happening, and that's correct, right? That's media for you. The fact is, she played a prominent role in a horror franchise that's been around for a long time. It'll always kind of be around, right? So like media will always ask her. In fact, no, the one hypocritical thing I think that I just want to throw in is that she kind of, not maybe 100%, but the interview really stemmed from like the 1-year anniversary of all this stuff happening to her. Now, again, I want to take the angle of, if you hear something that hurts you over and over and over again, even from fans, it's gonna bug you, right? So like I do understand that, but let me just throw in, it's not just the fans. And I don't know, like, would she tell the journalists, like, to their face when they're interviewing her, well, you're a big problem too, like, you're a really big cause of it. Arguably, the media would be a bigger cause of it, because the media, yeah, like, fans are always bringing it up at conventions. She chooses when to go to conventions. She chooses to meet these fans. A thing that's outside of her control is the 1-year anniversary. 1 year after she gets fired from Scream 7, everything kind of comes back. Why? Well, yeah, people talk about it, but also articles and journalists and things, that they bring it back up, right? They make a thing out of it, a big deal out of it. So just want to kind of throw that in there too, to not forget, whether it's her or, anybody watching, just as like an interesting topic point, it's not just fans that are never going to leave it alone. And fans, again, can be controlled in the way of, you control when you go to events, you control who you speak to, or if you want to speak or not speak, right? Things like that. You can't control when a journalist, you can't control somebody, I guess, like me, even like a content creator, making a video. Now, I wasn't going to do like a 1 year later type video for Jenna and her leaving Scream, but maybe other people did, or journalists that bring up these articles. This is something that will continue to happen, and continuing, I guess, down that path. That's also, I will say, that's the path she took. That's another thing to remember. This is not like anti-Melissa Barrera or anything, but you want to be a celebrity, you want to act, you want to be in Hollywood. These are things that do follow. Like, that's playing the game, right? That's just part of this entire thing. Everybody in Hollywood, like, the privacy thing is not a thing that exists anymore, and things do follow you, and conversations get brought up that you don't want to be brought up, whatever it might be. You choose to do that when you go down that path. That is just a part of Hollywood. So that's just another thing to kind of throw in. All right, so that's in terms of like partially the Scream fandom talk, but also what kind of bugs her as an individual. Now, she says a pretty interesting line that I do agree with, and then she compares, and maybe she does this like without thinking about it, but the comparison she makes, I do think is probably the worst thing that she said in the entire interview. Okay, so she says, I think there have always been Scream factions, she laughs, before referencing backlashes to past Screams she was in and past Screams that she wasn't. There are always going to be people that love you and people that hate you, and people that are open to a story continuing and people that think that continuing it is ruining it. If they want to go watch the next one, cool. If they don't, also cool. Now, she just stopped there. I think actually that's where she should have stopped as well. She says maybe like one other part that I do agree with that we'll get to in a second, but that part is totally fine. That part is actually extremely accurate. There's always going to be different mindsets, different opinions, and whether she was the main star of 5 and 6 or not, 5 and 6 still would have had somewhat similar, conversations about it, with continuing it with, kind of leaning into a brand new cast versus Sydney. There was always going to be that. So I 1000% agree, and there's really nothing more to say to that. Okay, then she does the next paragraph. You just gotta act according to how you preach, and that depends on what you value, what your morals are, and whether you can separate that from art or not. There are people who can't listen to R. Kelly anymore, or Michael Jackson, or can't watch Woody Allen films anymore, and then there are people who don't care. So, as a premise, I do understand it, and I do agree with it. I think the comparisons, they're bad comparisons. They're very, very bad comparisons, because they kind of, the scope is different. You're also referencing now an entity or like a company, and then everybody it employs and IPs it employs. You're doing all of that, and you're comparing it to acts of single people and the idea of art from the artist thing. Now, I guess art from the artist is to a degree correct. But I would take it a step further. It's really, do you care enough to make a difference in your life, change something in your life to impact them or not? And this really is what got people really, really furious, right? The comparison was the big thing, but also I think just the general idea, the general idea I actually agree with, and this is something I've said since the beginning. I'll continue to say it, and I think I say it pretty reasonably. I mean, you guys can let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. What I've always said is that people cherry pick. I think generally, including myself, everybody has levels that they're willing to go to and not go to. It's not a slight against any individual. If you really want to boycott something, you are very much anti. That is totally fine. If you do not want to watch Scream 7 because of Paramount and because of all that stuff, that's totally cool. My main problem from the beginning was always making it other people's problems. Was always saying, if you support this, then you are that. That line right there. And that's been said from, I honestly believe, mentally unhinged people from the beginning. And why are they mentally unstable? It's because they're not consistent. And that's the main thing that I think they don't really understand. I think I said it when she was first fired. See this right here? See what I'm recording on? See the computer or also phone or TV that you're watching me on? Throw it out. If you are so anti-Paramount and Scream 7 because of the Palestine thing, if you're so against that, I want you to throw out all your technological devices, because everything is rooted in something bad. Everything. You know where the chips for these things come from? I said that before. You can do some research. You can see where some of our, the resources that we use for some of our cool things that we use on a day-to-day. The people that are screaming at people that are going to watch Scream 7, they're screaming on a platform run by Elon Musk. In which I don't care if you support Elon. I don't care if you don't. I don't care if you like Twitter. I don't care if you don't. That's literally the point. Don't make it somebody else's problem. Don't label people because they're on a freaking website. Do you know how many people don't care? And that's the thing. Many people don't care. You might, at times in a conversation, care about Elon Musk, but when you're sitting there typing on Twitter, you don't care. You don't care about Elon. You don't care about anything he's done. You don't care about anything that's happening. You just want to send the tweet. You just want to talk to somebody on social media. That's why you're there. Same thing for the movie. When you're sitting in Scream 7, are you thinking about the conflict overseas that you're not a part of and you have nothing to do with? Are you thinking about what Melissa Barrera said? Are you thinking about anything? Are you thinking about the people yelling at you on Twitter? Nothing. You're there to watch the movie. And And that's in it of itself, that's harmless, right? I said this for Hogwarts Legacy. I said this for so many things. It's just how far you want to take it, and it is that consistency. So in that way, I do agree with her, right? Practice what you preach. The issue is so many people that will just message and be... I've gotten, weirdly enough, even from just responding to people, because I don't really talk about so much on Twitter, I've gotten some nasty things, and the people are just mentally unstable. You talk to them, and they can only swear at you. You talk to them, they can only tell you how terrible you are and how you're causing all of these things. And again, it's taking a couple steps back and realizing you've got nothing to do with it. You can't do anything about it. And if you really want to do something about it, boycott your entire life. Did you go to McDonald's in the last couple of years? Have you shopped at any major retailer? Have you used any kind of technological advice? Have you watched a movie from any company? Have you played games from chances are you've messed up. You've done something immoral. And living your life like that is the quickest way, I think, to being the most depressed and angry person ever. And there's a reason why those people act that way. And and that's something I think as time has gone on, as I've gotten older, I kind of see that, right? Where it's like, why do people act that way? Why do people that when they talk to you, all they do is yell at you, they scream at you, they swear at you, they label you, and that's all. And if you try to talk back, which I actually did with an individual, they block you, they don't want anything to do with you, they can't say anything except for the negative thoughts that are in their head. Well, when you do that, if that's your entire life, well, number one, there's no way you're consistent. You're consistent, I guess, in just being a terrible, mean person, but there's no way you can live like a happy life because you're just always upset, you're just always yelling, but you're also in no way consistent, because how can you be? You're literally messaging me on the platform run by Elon Musk, and you're telling me that by watching or supporting Scream 7, I'm the villain. If you want to do that, go look up every single company that supported this conflict and pick your side. I don't care which side you pick one or pick both. It doesn't really matter. Again, it doesn't actually matter. Pick whatever side you want, find the companies that don't agree with you, and then boycott every single one of them. Only then will I actually think that you stand by what you preach. The issue with these people, I would say 99.9%, almost every single one, because everybody's hypocritical to a degree. I am, you are, everybody is. There's no way. There's probably 1 to 2 people on planet Earth that actually do this. But you find me, the people that are yelling about Scream 7, and you find me that they're all these perfect people that are standing exactly by what they preach. They've never seen a different movie from any of these studios that are anti what they're talking about. None of them. Not a single person, not a single movie. There's no way. There's no way. And the fact is, they're yelling at you on social media, which you can always go back to. Okay, and I don't care what you think about Elon Musk. I do not go to bed, thinking at night, oh man, I wonder what the audience thinks about Elon. Don't care. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people, at the heart of it, and truthfully, most people do not care about most things, and that's okay. It's maybe a flaw, but I think it's an okay flaw. I think it kind of keeps us human, and it kind of keeps us sane, because if you actually are going to sleep every night thinking, oh my God, I wonder who's going to win that conflict, or oh my God, if more than 50 people see Scream 7, we're screwed as a society. If that's always in your head, you are very troubled, and chances are you're not living a very productive life. You're also not living a very happy life. I mean, you can keep going. The conversation goes so long, but at its core, and again, even what Melissa says, at parts, I agree. And I think the theme, all of her themes, I agree with. I understand why she's bugged by people, constantly talking to her about an issue, even though she put herself there, and she when I say put herself there, again, Hollywood and things like that, and what you're getting in for. And it's not just people, it's also journalists. I get the premise. I get the premise of people are always going to be mad one way or another, or, disagree, agree with what you do with the Scream franchise. Agree there. I agree with practice what you preach. The issue is and I would say even herself, she probably doesn't do that. Actually, no. Let me remove probably. I can tell you for a fact, there's no way Melissa Barrera actually stands by 1,000% what she says in terms of the boycott. There's no way. And actually, I don't even know, she's never really even called for a boycott, right? I mean, she's talked about the conflict. If she wants to go a step further, there's things that she can do and there's things that she can go against to really make her point. If she doesn't do it, does that make her a little hypocritical? It does, but again, like, all of us are, and that's the whole situation. Like, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it really boils down actually to such a simple concept, and it's what I've always said for Scream 7. When it comes to Scream 7, I'll tell you from the bottom of my heart, I'm going to be judging it as the movie. I'm going to be judging it based off Scream 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Like, that's what I did for Scream 6 and 5. And actually, unlike other people that I've seen on social media, I have not flip-flopped. Now, you can have a change of heart or change of opinion, the more that you've watched it, but I've talked about this when the movies came out. There were accounts that were like praising these movies to death just to get them money, at the box office, and I saw a couple accounts that after a few weeks, I remember one line, I don't remember who it was from, but they said like, okay, well, now can we be honest? Like, that wasn't a good movie. And they were being honest because the movie made the money and was successful, which is what they wanted, but they were hiding their true thoughts on the movie. I don't understand how you can do that. I don't understand how you can like take yourself seriously or expect other people to take yourself seriously when you do something like that. For me, it's always been, I'm going to have my opinion. It can evolve and change over time, sure, but it's going to be like genuine. I'm not going to flip-flop just because it's like popular that day. And I do think a lot of people do that on social media, right? Especially, I mean, in the Scream fandom, I've seen a lot of it. They'll say a movie's good and then all of a sudden it's bad, or it's bad, all of a sudden it's good. But that's how I'm judging Scream 7. Scream 7 will be judged on the movie itself. It's not going to be judged on a conflict that I'm not a part of, or I have no part to play in that conflict. And again, like, truthfully, a lot of us are in that same situation. There's nothing we can do, even if you want. I mean, there's some stuff, I guess, here and there, but in terms of like making like the most revolutionary impact, you're kidding yourself if you think that that's what's happening. And specifically, let me say this to end the video, they are kidding themselves if they think that, and that's actually maybe the biggest point, the people that scream and swear and just call you the most disgusting things on the planet for watching Scream 7, if they think they're actually doing anything by not supporting Scream 7 that's making an impact, again, that delusional kind of fantasy land that they live in is unhealthy. It's very, very unhealthy because it's not real. And even if Scream 7 fails, and it fails specifically for the reason of that conflict, chances are Paramount wouldn't even look at it for that reason. They would say, oh, why did it fail? They're not thinking about that. So that's number one. Number two, I really, like, okay, you stop a franchise from continuing. Like, what does that help people over there? Does that save a life? Like, for every one person who doesn't watch Scream 7, does that save a child? I don't know the ratio personally. Maybe it's like 1.5 to 1, but chances are it's not very high. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.